I think the best way to give you an idea of what's possible here is just to do a simple example and then build on it with some other ideas which you might find useful. Now I'm going to go to the dashboard and just confirm that the plugin has already been installed. There it is, it's the only one which is active. The nice thing is that you don't need to do anything fancy in terms of settings on the dashboard, because everything is controlled from within the text of the posts or the pages that you are going to use. So what I'm going to do is use the one existing post that you get when you set up a WordPress blog, which is Hello World, and you can see I've gone to the Posts tab here and I'm going to edit this post. Okay, here it is. Now the idea with this is that we have a certain part of the text which is seen, and then another part which follows it which is unseen. It needn't just be text, but we'll stick with text to start with. So what we have to do is to define the boundaries of both the text which is seen and the end of all of the text. So what I'm going to do is come to the beginning of the text here and I'm going to put in a tag, and the tag will say Auto Expander, and it's going to, all of these tags are going to be in square brackets like you see there and there. And as you would expect in any kind of tag type syntax, you're going to have an end tag, and that is what we will need here as well. So I'll put that in now so that I don't forget. And you can see I've actually made a slight mistake. I've put in a curly bracket, parenthesis, when I should have a square bracket like that. I know that my American friends refer to these things as parentheses, but in Britain they're known as brackets, so if you're confused, that's what I'm talking about. Square bracket, square parentheses. Okay, so that is the basic structure. We must have these two tags present because they pair up, obviously. Now the next thing is to have a pair of tags called contract tags. So the contract tags go around the text which isn't ordinarily shown at when the page is viewed in the default mode. So I'm going to add some text here, and I'm going to start with my contract tag and say this text, whoops, was hidden, but if you can see it now, it's been revealed. Whoops, my typing fingers are not with me today, excuse me. And in the same way as we've already seen, we need to make sure that we have a closing end contract tag. Okay, so that is the way that we put our post together. What I'm going to do now is update this tag, this page, rather this post I should say, and I'm going to go back to the tab where I had my original image and I'm going to reload it. Now what you see here is a little plus sign has appeared next to what we saw originally. Welcome to WordPress, the original WordPress message. We can't see the second part of the text which I entered until we actually click on this. You can see, because I've got a hand here, that this little graphic is clickable, and if I click on it we'll see the text was hidden, but if you can see it now, it's been revealed, and that of course is true. So you'll see that the plus sign has now changed to a minus, and again it's clickable, so I can click it and it disappears. And that basically is how it works. Now this example which we've just walked through is on a regular post to the blog part of WordPress. I just happen to modify the default Hello World post which is provided when you install WordPress blog. But I'm going to do a new thing here, which is a quiz on a page. Now this is just to show that pages work in exactly the same way as far as this plugin goes, and this one I've already prepared to show you. Now you can see from this that I've actually done not one but two examples with this structure. And you can see that I've got question 1, question 2, and if I click on this you'll see that I immediately get the answer to the first question. And one thing actually which I meant to mention, should I just contract that briefly, is that in the first part I talked about how you could click on the plus sign to reveal and of course the minus sign to hide again. Now in actual fact you'll notice that it's not just the plus sign or the minus sign, it's that whole area which we defined in the code, and I can click anywhere on that, and as you can see that works. So here's the second question about the Olympic Games, which are in London next year. So what I'm going to do, just to show you how this works, is to walk through the code which we've got here, and this is a syntax which you're becoming familiar with now, where we have auto expander and end auto expander which bound the entire construction, and then we've got contract and end contract here, and what they do is they define the area which is hidden in initially, and which can be shown when a click is made. Now what I've done is I've actually typed out a third question on Notepad, so you don't have to go through the agony of watching me typing very slowly and painfully. So you can see I've added it there in the end of this page with exactly the same kind of construction on. I'm going to update the page now, and that's come back, that's fine. And what I need to do of course is to go back to the tab with the default view and refresh it, and here you can see I've got 1, 2, 3 questions, and of course the third one there, the World Cup will take place in Brazil. So that is an example of the way that you can combine one or more of these structures in your post and on your pages. What I've done here is I've added yet another page to my WordPress blog which is about my product, and you can probably tell from looking at this there are certain clues here which are going to give away the fact that we are using the plugin here. The most obvious one is the plus sign, but also when I float the mouse, the cursor, the pointer changes from the normal arrow to a hand, which is the sign that what is underneath rather is clickable, and this extends right the way across. Now this is a graphic banner which I put together using the GIMP, which is the software freely available on the web, but of course there are others, it's Photoshop and various other things, and it's just a little bit of text, and I've included this invitation to click inside the banner, but this is all just an image. So if I click here you will see there's text, which is the same kind of idea that we've seen before. The plus sign changes to a minus. You'll be familiar with this now. So let me go back to my other window and you can see the dashboard, and by now this syntax should be becoming familiar. We have auto expander and end auto expander. They delimit the entirety of the material that we want to deal with here, and then contract and end contract are the tags which define the stuff which isn't shown initially. So this should all look very familiar, and of course as you've just seen this is the result. I can contract that again. Now what I'm going to do is repeat the kind of example that I just did with text with the quiz, but this time I'm going to do something else. And what I'm going to do is invite people to ask for more details, and to save you the ordeal of watching me type laboriously, I've started to do this on a little notepad file, and I'll just paste it into my work area here. So I'm starting up the same construct again, auto expander. I think what I might do just for some visual effect is just make this bold so it stands out a little more. I click here to sign up for our free report, and then contract. Now what I'm going to do now, in order to get the email to send to allow me to send my free report to the person making the inquiry, I'm going to use a simple autoresponder form. So let me see. Now this is interesting because if I go over to my web form generator at Aweber, the usual way, once you've defined your list and all the various parameters that you have, the usual thing to do is to install the form. And for the sake of ease, Aweber, for example, and there are other autoresponder companies out there, but what will usually happen is that you would just copy and paste something like this, a little piece of JavaScript, and put it into the place that you're needing it. Now, WordPress blogs are slightly different from regular static HTML websites, so the problem is that if you copy this and paste it into the what you see is what you get view of a page or a post, because of the way WordPress works, you won't ordinarily see anything in this visual view. You might want to click over to HTML and put it in there. But just to sort of prove that there's no deception, what I'm going to do is choose to use the other option that you get with Aweber and with other autoresponders. I'm going to choose the raw HTML, as they call it. And what I'm going to do here is the usual kind of thing: select all, copy. This is all done by right clicking. And now if I go back here onto the HTML view, I'm going to paste immediately after the contract tab. Exactly. Oops, that didn't quite work, did it? Let me Control Z. I probably need to do this on a new line. That's better. Yes, that makes more sense. And in fact, what I can do here is put in my end contract tab, because that is the end of the stuff I want to be hidden, and end auto expander as well, which of course is required. So if I go back to the visual view now, scroll down, you will actually see my form, and of course the tags as well. So I've done that just so you can see that there is going to be something there and see it within the construct that we're using with the plugin. It's just that if I used the JavaScript version, you wouldn't have seen anything on the visual view. There's probably a better way of doing an Aweber form in WordPress. I know that there's a plugin, but I'm just making some illustrations here. This is not necessarily the recommended way to do that kind of thing. However, I've now updated the page, and if I go back to my default view, which is here, and I refresh this page, okay, here is my product with its banner as before. That shows you all the advantages and benefits of using my product, and here we have want to know more. Click here to sign up for our free report, and here's our little email sign up form. I'm going to close with just one more example of the kind of thing you might like to try, and what I'm going to do here is, well, I've already done it, as you can see on my product page. I've added a short video, and if I play that, in fact what I'll do is I'll mute it and speed it up, because this isn't really the point. But what is the point is that I've included a call to action here which says click below to find out more, and as before we have the same kind of structure that we saw earlier. Now what I want to show you briefly is how that looks on the page, and here it is. This part at the top here is just what I've done to include the video. It's not the point of this video that we're doing today, but if anybody's interested, I've used the Video.js plugin for that. But that really just takes the place of what we had before, and what we're left with is the same kind of construction that we've seen several times now: auto expander and end auto expander delimiting the outer limits of our content, and then contract here and end contract as before. They delimit the area which is going to be hidden initially when the page is shown. So what you end up with is this kind of look, and that is really just another example of the kind of way which you might like to utilize this plugin's function.